Hi everybody. Today we're going to look at video resolution and we're going to ask the question, do you need 4K or 6K or 8K or how many Ks do you actually need? We can look at resolution from 2 points of view, from the point of view of watching it or the point of view of capturing it. First, the watching part. Does anyone know what this is? If you guessed VHS tape, you were right. These things ruled the video world for almost 20 years. If we looked at them now, we'd say that the quality was not very good, but we were watching them on small TVs from across the room, so it looked pretty good and we were happy. Then along came the DVD. DVDs have a resolution of 720 by 480. That's 480 lines of pixels along this axis. This is what we now call standard definition. This was a big improvement over analog. In fact, you can still buy a DVD player. Then came high definition at 1280 by 720. This was even better. Finally, we got full high definition at 1920 by 1080. This was the resolution of Blu-ray. I remember walking into Best Buy and they had an entire wall of TVs playing super detailed, high contrast, oversaturated videos. They had mountaintops, tropical fish, football games, and they all looked fantastic. 1080p still looks fantastic. At 1080p, we've reached the point of diminishing returns for video resolution. Next, we got 4K. The 4K stands for about 4,000 pixels along this long dimension. 4K has twice the resolution and 4 times the number of pixels as 1080p. It's not easy to get close enough to a TV to see the difference between 4K and 1080p. For a 60-inch TV, you need to be between 6 and 8 feet before you can see the difference. On the other hand, it's pretty easy to get that close to a computer monitor. In any case, it doesn't make too much difference because it's getting harder and harder to find a TV or a computer monitor that's not 4K, just like you can't find a 6-megapixel camera anymore. If you really want to get deep into this topic, I highly recommend this demo by Steve Yedlin. Steve Yedlin is a genuine Hollywood videographer who's done a bunch of big-name movies, including The Last Jedi. He calls part 1 the resolution myth. The most interesting part was when he took footage shot in 6K, downsampled it to 1080p, and then took that footage and upsampled it again to 4K. When he plays them side by side, you can't see the difference. This is really long and technical, but it's very convincing, and a lot of what he says will also apply to photography, including the idea that what's important is the viewing experience rather than specs or marketing. So far, we've been talking about watching video. When it comes to capturing video, there are actually several reasons why you might want to use 4K. The first of these is oversampling. Oversampling is what they call it when you take information from every pixel and combine it into a lower resolution file. This will, at least in theory, give you a cleaner and more detailed video. Some cameras are set up this way, and you can also do it in post-processing. This is a real effect, but it's not an oh wow thing. I'll have an example just a little bit later. 4K can also be handy for frame grabs. A frame from a 1080p video is only a little more than 2 megapixels, but a grab from a 4K video will give you a little bit more than 8 megapixels. I'd like to add that people are often disappointed when they shoot for frame grabs. This is partly because of the different compression used for video, but mostly because of motion blur. You should try to get your shutter speed up to the same as if you were shooting a still picture. But to me, the big advantage to 4K or higher is that it gives you the ability to crop, zoom, and pan. Here are 2 shots of the same boat. One was shot in 1080p and the other in oversampled 4K. I can't see any difference, and I'm sure you can't either. But if we zoom into the nameplate, the 1080p falls apart, but the 4K is still tack sharp. You can also do a digital pan. By the way, if you're going to do this, you need to nail the focus or it will look like this. Finally, here's one last shot of this boat. This was shot in cropped 4K, which is not oversampled and supposedly has lower quality. Looks good to me. So my opinion is that every increase in resolution is worth it up to 1080p. Once we get to that point, everything else is more important than resolution. But if you're looking for an excuse to buy a new camera, 4K still works just fine. By the way, this last clip was shot in 1080p with an optical zoom. That's all we've got, folks. Thanks for watching and stay safe.